I saw Lincoln B. That's my character's name. I knew there was something different about this book. Something happened in letter seven that gave me my ending.
Everyone, welcome back to the Mindset Playground, where we're pulling back the curtain on Thaine Chase and his amazing works of writing material. And today we have three books that are very different, but yet the same. And we're going to talk about those today. So we're looking at Tales from the Eastern Wind and Empire of One. And of course, one of my very favorites, The Letters from Lincoln B. So we're going to save the letters from Lincoln B to the end because there's some extra information about Lincoln B that I know you are going to want to hear. So make sure that you stay to the end of this because we're going to have quite the conversation. So, so Thane, welcome back to the Mindset Playground. And
Thank you.
we really appreciate you spending time with us and telling us about all of the things mindset when it comes to your books.
Oh,
So,
yay, my pleasure. Happy to be here again.
yes. So, how has it been? How's it been when you're, going out there and you're talking to everybody about your books and, have people been receptive to it or?
Yeah, I mean, you get, it depends who you're talking to because you have to talk to tourists different than you talk to someone who lives on the island, right?
Oh,
So I find that because you'll have like markets and sometimes you'll meet that personality that they're not even in the mood to buy a book, but because they find out I'm a Newfoundland author, they're like, I support Newfoundland authors. What do you got? So your your pitch becomes completely different. I feel like more like a fruit vendor. Well, I got some apples over here, I got some oranges over here, but if you like bananas, I got that over. Um, then when you're talking to, let's say a tourist comes up, well, they're going to definitely be leaning more towards the Newfoundland-based stories because they want something to remember their visit to the island. So they
ah,
usually, so that way, then you have to ask them, well, what kind of genres do you like to read? What kind, like, so you're a little more uh, detailed in asking them what they're looking for. And also, I find that I pitch the smaller sized books than my full size novels because they're tourists and they only have so much space in
oh,
their suitcase. And I never really thought of that because I had a gentleman, he was from Australia, and he wanted to buy all the Corbin Dwyers, all four of them. But then he looked at the size of them, he goes, oh, I'm so full with my luggage is so full, I'll never fit them all. So he ended up buying just one. He bought the first one, obviously. But I never really thought about that, right? So from future then on, when I met a tourist, I found I was really pitching the smaller size books, the broken things, and because for a tourist, it's such a small little book, they can stuff it in their pocket. And so that's different. And then if you find somebody who's just a reader, then it's all about what they're looking for, what genre they want. And people are usually pretty clear. Like I'll have a lot of readers come up and go, "Yeah, I got any romance?" Nope, sorry, don't write romance, or haven't yet. So it's a pretty abrupt conversation, right? Or do you have true crime? Nope, this is all fiction. Okay, thank you. So it depends on the reader. Um, but I just love talking to people anyway. Like if they take a moment just to say, "Well, what's your stories about?" I love doing like a little elevator pitch. I love that. It's fun. And the more you do it, it doesn't get repetitive, but it's easier because
right.
you start to realize what points you need to hit. And you can see people's the light bulbs go on and going, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Tell me more about that one. You know what I mean? Or if they start glossing over, you're like, okay, I'm going on way too long about this one. Um, which is Letters from Lincoln B is the hardest one to do an elevator pitch because it's such a unique story to explain to somebody in 30 seconds. So eventually, because it took me like, and even my wife, when she would be at markets and she would have some of my books, and if I wasn't there, she always found it hard to tell people about Lincoln B in a short time frame. Like everybody
Oh,
else, she'd
okay.
go boom, boom, boom. So eventually now, so when I know when someone's in a hurry now and they're like, so what's like letters to Lincoln B? I go, It's a self-help book disguised as fiction. That's fiction. That's what I say now. And then when I say that, if they linger, that means I can talk more about it. But if they go, oh, okay, I know no amount of description would pull them back. So I found that's my like key phrase for that one. Um, and for my other books as well. Like
But
for
it goes so much deeper.
it does, but
Like if I'm looking for romance, this is my opinion.
yeah,
I know you said you don't write romance, but yet I would see letters from Lincoln B as sort of a romance.
you could. I mean, you could stretch it into it. You could like some dough. You could mold it to that. But I think when people say romance, they want the boy meets girl, you know,
Yeah,
kind of thing. Um, and that's I haven't written that yet. So that's when people say romance, that's what I think they're looking for. Yes, I agree with you. I think if you were broad-minded enough, you could look at Lincoln being go, oh, it's romantic. You could say that for sure, but I wouldn't though. I would never pitch it to somebody as a romance.
I see.
Right? It's like the same thing like when we talked about in the other podcast about Shooter. I never portray it as an evidentiary, a CSI style murder mystery. No,
Right.
it's a storyteller story. It's the exact opposite of what those readers want. It's so I try to steer them away from it, right? So, yeah, but it's anytime I get to interact, because you understand when I'm at a market, there's a billion other vendors. So
Oh,
you really only have people for 30 seconds. And if you don't grab them in those 30 seconds, they're going to move on. And rightly so. They're there to see everyone. They're shopping or they're tourists, so they're grabbing souvenirs. So like if I'm in front of a bookstore, like if I'm doing a book signing, that's different. They're going to come and talk to you and you can spend a lot more time with people. But I find at markets, you got like 30 seconds, if that.
yeah.
Like my wife's great because she's got it down in the fact she'll be like this. So are you a reader? And if they say nope, then it's like, okay, conversation over. Here's my art. You know, you know, like
Yeah.
and I learned from that when she shared that with me. I'm like, well, I never would have thought of asking somebody if they were a reader. It's so simple, but I never would have,
Yeah.
it's so obvious. It was like, right? So yeah.
Well, that's interesting because you asked me if I was a reader. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, but you didn't. You said, can I send you one of my books?
Yeah.
And then you asked me if I was a reader.
Yeah. 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 Typical Thaine style, backwards.
But that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I am enjoying the letters from Lincoln B. So I know I said that we
Yeah,
were
we'll
gonna
leave that
talk
for
about this at the end, but that's
yeah,
okay because we're
yeah.
on it. So the question that I have for you is, well, not the question, but I'd like you to explain the exciting part about the letters from Lincoln B that you've told me, why it is so unique, the book. Have I given you enough hints?
Uh, is it the writer's block version or is it where it ended up?
Nope. It's the part, oh, where it ended up in
Um,
somebody's library.
yes, yes. Okay, well, there's a gentleman down in Florida. He's a former NFL football player, and he started a foundation to help just it helps. I mean, and he covers so many different areas, but one area that he works with is with the prison system in Florida, with prisoners and inmates and trying to get them to better themselves if they can't. You know what I mean? And he likes to help kids that are separated from their fathers or fathers. It's a really amazing foundation. It's the Jack Brewer Foundation, I believe, is. I'm pretty sure I should have researched this because I had a brief interaction with him. But the Jack Brewer Foundation, you can look it up online, but he's out of Florida. He's an amazing person because he just wants to help so many people. Anyway, one of the people that interact with him in his foundation read Letters from Lincoln B, and they took it to his foundation, and said, this book is really interesting. And so they championed it and they forwarded it to I guess content readers that deal with all the libraries and prisons in the penal system. And apparently, well, not apparently, but Letters from Lincoln B passed the screening process, and the foundation grabbed a whole bunch of copies and put them in the prison, some of the prison libraries down in Florida. And as a writer, I if you asked me to list 1,000 scenarios where one of my books would end up, I think a prison library would probably be the last choice. Not for any reason except for it's just I wouldn't even have considered it, you know? And um when I entered it, it got entered in the Imagine Awards down in the States in 2021. And I did it on a lark in the fact that I was like, because I was still it was only my Lincoln B was only my third book at this point. I had only done my short stories, Tales from the Eastern Wind, Empire of One, and Lincoln B. So these are the three we're talking about today. That's all I
Yes.
had under my belt. So I still wasn't confident standing where I was. I still wasn't there. I was still coming from a screenwriting world, television, film, which is a different animal. So I didn't have that confidence yet. So I was like, I think this would be this competition would be neat to see how people receive the book. So I sent it, and I didn't think much about it. And you know, when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And then a couple months later, I got a lovely email, and it won Best Literary Fiction for 2021 in the Imagine Awards. And that was fabulous because it gave me something to build on. And as soon as you know you can attach that to your book, it turns heads. You know, it's amazing. It's sad that you have to win something to get people to sometimes to look at your stuff, but it's just the nature of the beast. It's the way the world is. And from doing that, I'm convinced it got it into that person's hands that was connected to the foundation, and then the foundation got it, and they got it to the content readers, and now it's in there, hoping that it will help a prisoner maybe trying to see life in a different way, or maybe see his or her potential in a different way. And as a writer, how can that not be your goal? Like, you know, I mean, because when I wrote Letters from Lincoln B, it was initially just an exercise for writer's block because I was trying to do a nonfiction, and I started to write a fictional story with the nonfiction stuff I had already written with the writer's block, and all of a sudden I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting," and then I just went with it, and then you know a few weeks later, Letters from Lincoln B was yeah, okay, and you know from the other podcasts, you know I can't write without a title.
Right.
This was the first book that I ever wrote that had no title. Before I,
Really?
yeah, I got the title last because I didn't know how I was like, um, when I wrote the vomit draft, I didn't even know the character was going to be named Lincoln B. He was just Guy Story. That's what I called him, right? Guy was his first name, Story was his last name because I didn't have my character name. And I couldn't come up with a name that I really liked. So I was sitting and I was in my kitchen, and my kitchen window stares out into the street that I lived on when I was in Ontario, because I was in Ontario when I wrote Lincoln B. And I lived right in an intersection, right? B Avenue and Lincoln Drive.
Oh, come on.
And the two signs right outside my kitchen window crisscross. So when I looked out, all I saw was Lincoln, and I didn't see the drive because of the way it was crossed. I saw Lincoln B. And I was like, that's my character's name. And then I went in and I changed, you know, so Guy Story became Lincoln B. And then I was like, okay, the title, it's a philosophical, you know, self-helpy kind of find yourself, second chances, inspirational. And then I was like, well, he's writing her letters from Lincoln B, and it just seemed to click. Is it my greatest title? I don't know, but I think it works for the book,
Oh, it does.
right? So, and I knew there was something different about this book, and I didn't know what it was. And I'm thinking that maybe being in a prison libraries, maybe that was what I was feeling. Like I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, but I knew it was something that I didn't expect because I didn't expect to write the book. It wasn't like I've described when I've talked to you about my other books. I got the cover design, I've got the title. I didn't have any of that. Like I said, it was born from frustration because I couldn't finish my nonfiction, right? Um,
Wow.
so it's a very unique book and so many kind of on so many levels. So I think it's probably why it has a little soft spot in my heart because of that. Yeah,
Well, you write about Lincoln, who, of course, he writes these letters, and I'm not going to give too much of it away.
yeah,
Now, this is obviously letters that he's written to face his past.
yes, yes. He's basically he's a gentleman in the winter of his life. That's why I describe him. And he in his young years he couldn't do anything wrong. The world was his oyster. He was successful. He was this. He was that. And through the course of some bad decisions and some bad attitudes and personality flaws, he finds himself now in the winter of his life, and everything has just gone to puts. It's just, it's just feces, right? It's just, and he's so not only he's not only so sad about it, but he's just so confused at what happened. He woke up one day, he's in that the final act of his life, and everything has just been just a nightmare. And he's trying to figure out how to stop his anger and his rage and his frustration. And he realizes he needs to talk to somebody. And the only person he trusts is his ex-wife from decades ago because he realizes she knew him better than anybody else. And he needed truth. And he knew
Yeah.
anybody else he would talk to would shine him on or they wouldn't be truthful, but she would. And
Well, because she was his first love.
yeah, yeah. And everything kind of, the divorce, I don't, want to give too much away, but she's going to be truthful because, she needs to be. And so he reaches out to her he's like, and he gives her basically what's going on. I'm old, I'm angry, I've lost everything. I don't know what I did. I need to solve this before my final days because I'm going insane. What Lincoln doesn't realize is she's got some health issues that she doesn't want him to know about, but she wants to help him because despite everything, she still loves him. And she knows how he is. She knows he can fix it himself, but he's too stubborn to step outside the bubble and look in on himself. So she comes up with this idea so she can keep distance from him so he doesn't learn about her health issue, but also might be able to help him. But she's going to try to trick him into helping himself. So she says, write me one letter a month, just purging everything that's bothering you. Because she knows how he is. And if he writes these letters, he's going to somehow analyze himself and solve himself with these letters. And so the whole book is basically these letters coming once a month and what he writes, how he perceives it, how she reacts to the letters, and how they interact. And then, of course, will he find out that she's got an illness? Will he find out this secret she's been hiding from him since their divorce that he also knows nothing about? Will he find out? Will he find out? Will she keep it hidden? Will she be able to help him? Will he help himself? And that's basically what will hopefully carry the reader through to the final page. So,
Oh, for sure. And I'm in the middle of it. Well, not in the, I'm in the middle of it. And I asked you that question. So without giving it away, what did you tell me? You said you're
looks
going to
like you're
have
going
to
to have
read
to read
it.
it. Yeah.
And that's great. That's the perfect answer.
Yeah.
So when you thought of this book, or like you said, it just kind of like came together. Did you have anybody particularly in mind? I mean, there are a few things in there that I see kind of in you as far as, what you've done in the past and stuff like that. But was there anybody in particular that you had in mind?
I think I probably Frankenstein monstered the character. Yes, I mean, I think everybody in life has regrets or mistakes or they're embarrassed about things they did when they were younger or whatnot. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I definitely drew on some of my own life experiences. I drew on experiences of some friends, some family. I drew on experiences from neighbors. Um, so I think, yeah, I think it's like a Frankenstein's monster. I think I took an arm from one person, a leg, you know what I mean, and just kind of made made a character out of it. Because mistakes are universal. We have all made them, and we all, if you hear somebody, oh, I did this and this, and you'd be like, oh, I've done that. A lot of people can identify. So I
Yeah.
think I think I wanted to make sure that with Lincoln's character, there's a lot to him, and I think no matter who reads it, they're going to be like, uh-huh. And then, with the wife, the ex-wife, sorry, I think there's aspects of her that people will read and go, oh yeah, been there, done that. So I would say to answer your question, I'm saying, oh, definitely, I've called on myself for sure, but I think I used a whole smorgasbord of people. Yeah, like a salad bar. I took from, you know, I definitely I rated the salad bar for sure and tried to create a character that had a lot of depth, but a lot of layers. But yeah, like I said, all art is self-portraiture. You can't create art in any discipline without revealing some of yourself. You got to draw on that. So, if I was sitting here saying, "Oh no, there's nothing about Lincoln B that's like me, nothing at all," I'm lying. So, yeah,
Well, so if because I know you a little better than maybe just the person who's, stumbling across
yeah,
this podcast, but I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of similarities.
yeah,
But it's interesting because there's a lot of similarities for myself in there as well. Like how I've dealt with relationships and how I've,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's
and
right. Yeah, I
kept
think bad
those,
decisions are bad
yeah,
decisions are universal. We've made everybody makes a bad decision or regrets a decision they didn't make.
right,
Right? Sometimes that's the
right.
thing. I mean, my dad used to always say, you never regret the things in life you do, only the things you don't. I'd probably argue him if he was still alive because, but I know what he meant by it, right? But
Right.
I think it's a two-sided coin, and sometimes you don't decide, and that is the mistake, and sometimes you do decide, and that's the mistake, and that's life, that's living, and it's what makes us, the tapestries we all are. So,
Well, as a success coach or with my coaching background and the
yeah,
mindset background, the only thing I can say to people in general, is that we're all human. We're
yep,
supposed to do these things because it leads us to something else. You did these things years ago and it led you to a book.
yep,
That happens.
yeah,
And here's something that somebody always told me: you ain't that important. People have their own lives to live.
yeah,
They're not going to remember what you said or did.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's so true. And until, or as Mel Robbins says, when they say something, let them.
yep, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah. And I think that that's so, so important.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, just understand that you're supposed to be the person that you are.
Yeah, well, and I think hopefully that comes out like when you finish reading, hopefully you'll still have that same view of the book that way, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts because I love people who read it. Like I've had a few people come back to me who read it, and because there's a heavy martial art component,
Yes.
philosophical wise, not punching and kicking wise, but philosophically, it's in there. And I love how I have these people come back to me and have no knowledge of martial arts, no interest in it, and they love that aspect of the letters because they were they would tell me how stuff that happened in their lives, they can relate to that philosophy and make it work for them.
Yes.
And when I heard that, I was just like the happiest guy you could ever see because I I gave them something they had no experience with and it still worked. So I was like, "Oh, I wrote it well." You know.
No, it's true. And yeah, I don't know any of the background. about martial arts,
Yeah.
and but when he was writing how he feels about, um, I don't want to give it away either, but when he writes to her about how he found, say, like some medals in his closet that
Yes.
he had to, I mean, that could be medals that represents anything in your life, not just, it could be anything really.
Yeah.
And the, the fact that the black belt, we had mentioned this, how things seem so much larger when you were a kid, you
Yes.
know, and
Yeah.
he thought that black belt was a lot bigger.
Yeah. He thought that was the end all be all back then, and he realized
Yeah, exactly.
it's just a piece of cloth.
Yep, exactly. And it doesn't
Yeah.
even fit anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
look good anymore.
Yeah.
Like how often has that happened?
Yeah, but
But
that's what I was really excited for the book for that reason because the philosophies within, the martial art experiences I've had when I was younger, I love how I can apply them to anything in life. And I was always excited about that and I always knew I could. So the fact that it made it into a book, which I never planned on, I think was probably the other added, that was the cherry on top of the parfait because it was like, oh, I get to do it again. Martial art philosophies in everyday life. Woohoo!
yeah.
Yeah,
So now, did you write that basically like letter one, letter two, letter
yeah,
three, or did
yeah.
you kind of bounce around?
Nope, I went in order. I wrote that chronologically. Yeah,
Wow.
because again, I'm a pantster, so I was going on the journey with Lincoln, right?
And what he
So
would say. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't want to go ahead. Like I had no idea how I was going to end this book when I was
Okay.
writing. I had no idea, zero. And by like you said you're on letter four, right? Okay, so by
Yes.
letter four, as I was writing it, I still had no idea. Will he find out about her illness? Will he find out about the other secret? I still had no idea. I was really on the ride with Lincoln. Yes, I was writing it, but as a pantster, I'm in the moment with Lincoln. So when he's angry about something, I put myself in anger and I write angrily. And then when he comes across something and he realizes, duh, I sit there and go, duh, and I start to write from that point of view. And and it works for me. It doesn't, a lot of writers have to outline and stuff, like I said in the earlier podcast. So I don't want to repeat myself, but it's just the way I do things. And I'm not saying it's a better way or a worse way. It's just my way. And
Right.
for Lincoln B, I found it really worked for me because I had in I think it was letter seven. Something happened in letter seven. I could never have planned in 1,000 outlines. And it just was like a puzzle piece just slipped in so nicely. And I was like, I couldn't have planned this better. And I was so excited because it gave me my ending.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
excited now.
Yeah. So yeah, it was it's probably of all my books, and I got 11 now. I think Lincoln B still was the most fun to write, just from a point of view of being a pantser and what I got out of it, which the lowest expectations I think I've ever had in a book, and it turned out just to be what it is now. And yeah, I just every time I think about it, I just smile. I just do. Yeah, yeah,
Well, coming from me, so for the audience who's listening or watching this, I am not a book reader. I love audiobooks. That's
yeah.
just me. I love the audio. But when I read the description of Letters from Lincoln B, and this is before I even had a conversation with Thaine, when I read that description, I said, this intrigues me. I need to see what these letters are all about because writing a letter is very personal.
Yes.
So, yes. And so I would strongly suggest, and believe me, he's not paying me to say this, but I would strongly suggest that you get your hands on Letters from Lincoln B
Oh,
and
thank you.
just go through it. And even if you just go through and read the letters, but trust me, you'll want to read everything that's around the letters as well.
Oh.
And so, like I said, coming from me, who's not a reader, I am thoroughly enjoying. this book, and I can't wait to get to letter number 7.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for that. No, I really appreciate it, and I truly hope that everybody who reads it does enjoy it, because it was such a blast to write and to get out there. So yeah, thank you so much for the promo. I
Oh,
pay to the order of no.
yeah. Checks, please. Checks and
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
anyway,
it was fun and it was good because it also taught because like I've said in the other podcasts, I'm all narrative when I write my books. I don't use dialogue. So Letters from Lincoln B was also unique in the fact that the letters are the dialogue, but they're still in narrative form. So I was able to beat the system, but still keep my narrative kind of personality, right, and reputation. But they
yes.
basically are dialogue, but they're just in letter form, which helped me because it opened up the book to really be able to tap into the emotion that Lincoln was feeling, where a lot of times I gotta really agonize on the other books to get how people are feeling when you can't, well, not when you can't. I could use dialogue, but I choose not to. So, yeah, it's yeah, like I said, I'm so happy with how Lincoln B represents so many aspects of my writing journey. So, yay. Yeah.
And I haven't gotten to the end of it yet, but the question that I do have is, will there be a Lincoln B2?
No, no, it's a
Okay.
one-off. Yeah, it's a one-off. And even if I wanted to do it, I wouldn't because it's like almost sacred to me now. I think I would ruin it if I wanted to do
Okay.
a second or a follow-up. Oh, no, I can't, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll understand that after I finish reading it.
Well,
So,
I think you'll see why. I think you'll
yeah.
understand why. Like, you know what? This doesn't need another one. I mean, unless you come up with something I never fathomed, but I think you're going to agree with me. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. You pretty much know your books and
Yeah.
what's coming up. So,
Yeah.
for sure, I would trust you on that one. Everyone, welcome back to the Mindset Playground where we're pulling back the
You are
curtain.
who you are, and you're your own empire of one. You can accumulate things and buy toys and have trinkets, but at the end of the day, when that big moment comes, you're by yourself. And I think that's why my character, he's immortal, but he wants to die. He just wants to die. He's lived enough, and it's torture that he can't. And he's that empire unto himself. He can't befriend people because they don't last. He can't fall in love because they're not gonna. So he's that castle on sand, but it won't collapse. He wants it to, but it won't.